Good day, students. So our next lecture of sensory analysis is selection, training, and motivation of a panel. So welcome to our lectures. So to selection the panel, it's a process which refers to steps involved in choosing people who have the right qualification to fill a current of the future of job opening. So criteria should be distinctive as aspects as a criteria development, application, and resume review. So criteria development, it's all individuals involved to hiring process should be properly trained on steps for interviewing, reviewing resumes, and developing interview questions. So next is application and resume review. So people have different methods to going through this process. So there are also computer programs that can search for keywords in resumes and narrow down the number of the resumes that must be looked for to the review it. For the some organizations as a selection, it was developed the procedure in India. So this have recently started visiting colleges, campuses for required purposes. Of course, if there is a list of answering, so then you can select teams from the different organization announces jobs markets. So they companies, the opportunities and compensation packages generate the short list of the application and finally select the desired number. The selection procedure is the making of the hire or no hire. So it's the decision regarding each applicant for a job. So in our case, for the, of course, about the sensory evaluation. So it's the process of the choosing qualified individuals who are available to fill positions. And so as an advisory function, its human resource manager is expert in his area and can see the list of the answers. So it's the can be advised to the top management and the department of the heads. So when we are developing a sensory panel, there are several areas that need be addressed. So this include the need for a panel organization and organizational management support of commitment, its time and money, and resources required. So it's the sensory laboratory staff, interest and availability of potential panelists, and samples and references for screening and training, availability of a panel room and the booth. So facilities for data collection and statistical analysis, it comes at the end of the evaluation. So establishment of the training sensory panel can be divided into two steps. So it's the selection and training. For the selection, it's the recruitment of panel members as usually recruited for staffs in laboratories, offices, and the plan of the company. So companies test their products at a different company facility. It can be external panelists, so which is also be recruited from the community nearby of if the sensory panel, or work is going to be very time consuming. So talk circulars, notice boards, or personal invitations may be used to recruit potential panelists. So information should be provided to the prospective panelists concerning the application of the sensory evaluation, what will be involved for the panelists at the envisaged work program. By the pre-screening questionnaire, potential panelists need to complete the pre-screening questionnaires to obtain background information on their interests in participating in the screening and training program, as well as going work. So availability, general goods, health, note any illness or allergy or permanent impairments to the senses. So any food, idiosyncrasies, strong food dislikes, or reaction of the foods, and the other information that might be relevant. So it's about the age, the sex, nationality, cultural and religious background, previous sensory experience, and smoking habits, etc. So panelists shouldn't be asked to assess the food they dislike. In company situation, distribute questionnaires for employees to fill in, detailing the above criteria. If you make all questions optional, you will find the majority of people respond truthfully. So pre-screening questionnaires can also be used to select individuals who can describe sensory concepts. So uh, recording all the information you receive in some form of the database. So based on above criteria, decide which prospective analysis proceed in screening process. Also, interviewing very helps in this case. So, individual interviews are required to determine whether prospective analysis will work well in a group situation, as well as for the analytical approach required in descriptive testing. So, an interview is also used to confirm interest and availability for the descriptive sensory panel. There is a large investment involved in terms of both time and money. So it's the best to complete a thorough screening process rather than training unsuitable subjects. So during the selection process, it is important to make note of both attendance and personalities of the panelists. A panelist who is repeatedly late or unavailable can be more trouble than their worth. So someone distract other panelists by talking or making comments despite the repeated request to remain silent while testing. So, however, it's recognized that the best panelists available may need to be used. Also, they may not necessarily meet all the requirements. So sensory screening tests is completed to obtain information on prospective panelists who need to be able to detect differences in attributes present and their intensities and describe the attributes using verbal descriptors or scaling methods for the different intensities, be able to recall and apply attribute reference when required. So sensory screening tests also give the prospective panelists an indication of the methods used in sensory analysis, and those tests used should be chosen with the envisaged sensory program in mind. So basic tests and others are commonly used for screening tests, as well as the materials that illustrate the attributes that may be concluded in the sensory program, and samples actual food products may also be used. A study of the triangle Duotro test may be completed access to ability of the potential panelists to detect small differences between stimuli of threshold levels, or preferably potential panelists should be respond correctly 100% of the time in order to evaluate the ability of the panelists to describe sensory response. A series of the products can be presented and potential panelists asked to describe the sensory impression. The product used should be related to those that will be used in the investigate sensory testing. So motivation is the most important part of the paneling. So motivation of the panelists is one of the as the most important factors in maintaining an efficient trained sensory panel. If panelists are motivated and interested, they will perform well. So for panelists, a sense of the completing meaningful work is an important source of the motivation. When appropriate in the completion of the project, feedback should be given to the panel as the project objectives and outcomes and contribution of the sensory results. So individual panelist feedback is also important. So as a role of the sensory analyzing in the food industry was described by the Lawless and Human in 1997. So sensory evaluation, what is the influence on the product research, and the product researching we come to the marketing, manufacturing, and the other all of the chain in the marketing research, right? So in the if you would like to evaluate the product quality, so we should collect all of this information, and then they have a very high impact on this. So also in the sensory evaluation, we are using the appearance, the shape, so instead of the packaging and design, and how does it marketed in the product and safety toxicology. So all of this impact which is in the taken part in this product research. So throughout training as well as during ongoing sensory evaluation sessions, it is important to keep the channels of the communication open through the panel discussion at the completion of the training session or sensory testing session. The ongoing course of analysis, training, and experience are invaluable. In some instances, training can occupy more time than the actual experimental testing session. So, especially when you first start, and however, if the job is done correctly right from the start, so your trained panel will be go on the most valuable resource in your company. So, make sure look after them. So thank you for your attention, and see you in our future lectures. Goodbye.